This is Straight Talk with it. I love you, Greg Penn, the Preacher Man, and his sidekick Shannon Jones. Frank discussions of issues affecting the ATL, Fulton County, the state of Georgia, the nation, and around the world. And now, here they are, live and in living color, the team of Jones and Fan, the Preacher Man.
Well, you're in tonight for a really big show right here on Straight Talk with yours to the Greg Fan, the Preacher Man. Hey, guys, I thank you so much for all your comments and everything that you're sending in to us and all the things that you're letting us know that we're doing right and the things that you know that we're doing wrong. But we appreciate criticism as well as constructive criticism, as well as telling us what we're doing that you appreciate. Well, listen. Tonight we have our producer with us, Bishop Rollin Tate. He's going to be with us along with Ronald Allen. Shannon couldn't make it tonight, but we're going to have that discussion. As we said, we're going to have a long, lengthy hour discussion. You may leave at some point, but pick up a little later on. But we're going to be having a discussion about why is America in this war with Israel against Iran. You don't want to miss that discussion. Stay tuned. And now here is Miss C. Miss C. There she is, Miss C.
Hi, Miss C here with your 3-minute news blast, or more or less. Listen, Flipper Temple AME Church at 580 Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard welcomes you to Holy Week Revival, April 1st to the 3rd at 7:30 p.m. each night. Guest speakers include Reverend C.O. Adams on Wednesday, Reverend Marvin Crawford on Thursday, and on Good Friday at noon is the 7 Last Sayings of Christ being presented. The lead pastor is Reverend Elijah Shafar. Holy Week Revival is sponsored by the AME Ministers Union of Atlanta and vicinity. Flipper Temple also invites you to an extravaganza block party on Saturday, April 4th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's going to be face painting, games, and inflatables. Flipper is located at 580 Atlanta Student Movement Boulevard in Atlanta. Exodus, Solutions for Underserved Communities will be held Saturday, April 4th from noon to 3 p.m. at the Russell Innovation Center, 504 Fair Street in Atlanta. To get more details, log on to www.exodusmissodei.org. Again, log on to www.exodusmissodei.org to get more information on Exodus. And I've got one more tidbit of information for you. The Good Church invites you to get on board the gospel train April 5th from 3 to 5 p.m. It's traditional gospel and preaching and singing at its best, celebrating the gospel talents of Deborah Snipes and also featuring Reverend Edward Jackson and the True Tones of Alabama. That's Easter Sunday at the Good Church, 2100 Abner Place in Northwest Atlanta. For more information, contact Reverend Jarius Dorsey at 678-754-5667. Food will be served. Now listen, there are 4 things I'd like for you to do. You know what those are? I would like for you to subscribe. I'd like for you to like us. I'd like for you to leave comments. Let us know how we're doing. And number 4, share us. Don't keep Straight Talk News to yourself. Let everybody know what you know, okay? And if you have an event that you'd like for us to announce, just send it to us at straighttalknews1362@gmail.com. That's straighttalknews1362@gmail.com. Now listen, I want to read this to you. I read it last week, and it was so beautiful that I just want to share it again, if you don't mind. Nothing is more powerful than prayer. Nothing is stronger than faith, and nothing is greater than God. Nothing, no matter what you're going through or what's happening in your life, nothing is greater than God. We'll see you next week. Bye now.
Well, welcome to Straight Talk with yours truly, Greg Finn, the preacher man. Now listen. We got a great show, a really great show tonight. A really great show. Really nice, really great. Yeah. The whole head something. Really great. But listen, but on the serious side tonight, we're gonna get real serious about this thing tonight because I got two gentlemen. You know Ron Allen. He's gonna tell it just like it is. Hey, Ron, and listen. Peace, my brother, peace, okay?
2 fingers. Peace, 2 fingers, y'all.
And then we have Bishop Rollin Tate, who is our producer. This is our producer. When I be talking about the producer all the time, this is the producer. This is the guy who always keeps us straight and tells us your sound is loud, get your sound right.
Bishop.
I'm talking so long.
Really, Bishop?
All this other stuff. That's him.
Really?
That's the producer.
Really,
yeah,
Bishop?
Yes, really.
This is what we're going to do.
Really, Mr. Producer, really.
All right.
But I'm glad to have him with us tonight, really. I told you last week we're going to have an extensive talk about Israel and what's happening in Israel with the United States and Iran, right? But I got one question before we start talking about that, and I just want to know your thoughts. Do you think that Donald Trump engaged in this war to further hide the Epstein files?
Oh, unquestionably. It's the one thing we have yet to revert back to and really discuss is the Trump Epstein files and the new allegations that have been coming out. It is the greatest tragedy that will put in more death and carnage and wasteful spending to cover up the greatest sex trafficking and child rape ring in the history of the world. So you're right on, Bishop. Absolutely. This was the biggest, deadliest distraction that the president could come up to divert our attention away from his own disgraceful activities, and it's been successful thus far.
All right. Rob, what do you think?
Well, I'm not sure if it was the Epstein files that led us down this path, but I do think it was unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
Whichever direction, whichever thoughts you have, we still don't have a clear reason why. Epstein files, some say the oil, regime change.
Mm-hmm.
The goalpost moves daily, sometimes hourly. So with that said, I don't think we should be there.
Right.
For whatever reason we're over there, it's unnecessary.
Okay, well let's get into it. Let's get into it, brother. So you don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think Ron thinks it's necessary, and most of our viewers don't think it's necessary either. Because the kind of comments that we're getting back from people is, are we going back to the Vietnam War? Are we going back to the Cold War? Are we going to have a global war? And the president, because he is the president, we have to respect the title. The president is the most undecisive person I've ever seen in leadership in my life. To be a leader, because everything he say he's gonna do, then he retracted. He's gonna do this, and then he turns around and retract it. He's gonna do this, and then he retracts it, and then he turns around and want to be a bully, and then he turns back and starts retracting from being a bully. Now, this whole conversation about, he's gonna have it sealed in 5 days. It's be ended in 5 days. Well, we've heard that lie before, because he said the war between Russia and Ukraine was going to be ended time day one once he got in. I don't know why people keep falling for the okie-doke, because that's all it is, the okie-doke. That's all it is.
Well,
but go on, Rob.
Yeah, we fall for the okie-doke all the time. We're a country that falls for the okie-doke. In 2003, George Bush had Colin Powell running up to the United Nations talking about Iraq, had cylinders in which they're building their uranium-rich plutonium to build a nuclear weapon. Trump's indecision plays on our tolerance for ignorance and abuse. We could have been conditioned as Americans for so long to put up with abusive conditions, whether they're low wages, whether they're employer-based health care that leaves out 30% of Americans. All unemployed and poor Americans do not have access to health care if you are without a job, and employers are absolutely shortchanging the health care plans that they give to working Americans. We deal with poverty, we deal with abuse in our homes, in our schools, in our places of worship, and we continue to have a psychology of rugged individualism that convinces us that any abuse and any problem put forth before us by our government and society, it becomes our job to overcome it. And if you cannot overcome it, then that's a signal of your own inherent failure and lack of productivity, as opposed to us recognizing we're in a system that's rigged. Trump ran on the truth in 2016 when he told us the special interests, the lobbyists have so convoluted our national government. The Democratic Party, when he was mocking Hillary Clinton to her face in the debate, he was very clear. The Democrats have left these tax loopholes open and available for Trump and his billionaire cronies and the ownership class to now assume control over the entire global means of production. They control peace and war. They control information. They control food production. They control transportation, education. And so we need to be realistic about what are our options in facing this reality where the top 1% and the decision makers are so segregated from the consequences of their own actions. They're not going to be, they the ones who have the 20 million, 40 million, $50 million bunkers. So when World War III goes out, Jeff Bezos and Zuckerberg and all these billionaires, they're going to be in their bunkers underneath, or maybe up in space. Who knows what they're doing on the moon now. So they have totally insulated themselves. They made us the vulnerable ones, and we sitting here still singing about how glad we are to be an American because we've been able to get a Range Rover. Maybe we got some plush carpeting. Maybe we take a vacation to Mexico or some other place exotic every 6 months or so. And so this small, menial amount of luxury that we've been able to assume for ourselves has now convinced us to put up with the greatest storytellers and liars and abusers in the history of the world.
Let me cut in. Good, thank you, Ron. We talked about Trump being indecisive. Well, I think Trump hears a lot of people. He has an idea. However, there's a lot of interest, special interest group. There's a lot of people in his circle that really, I feel, don't really mean him any well. But he, in a good, he's the one who can implement what they want. So he has connected himself. That's why he's very impulsive. So he will say something, and then when he goes back, he get phone calls from that group, and they will say, "Hey, we can't do that," and so he will change. So at his core, he's a TV personality. He understands communications. He understands the pulpit. He understands the bullet mentality. He understands that. So when he says that if you guys don't do this in 5 days, we're going to take the island, and somebody comes back and say, well, if you do that, they're going to do this.
Right.
Then he'll say, oh, well, let me back off from that.
Right.
10 days. Nothing's going to happen in 10 days. I say this. The only people that are really, really intimidated by him are the Republicans and MAGA.
That's right. What they call him, Taco Trump?
Because the world, they see what you're doing makes no sense. Like you can blow, but they say if you do this, this is what's going to happen. And he doesn't understand that until he goes back and those people start talking to him. Even today, when he talked about the TSA agents, in his mind, he said, you know what? It's wrong for them not to get paid. I'm going to pay them. So what this Congress does, Congress going to say, well, we're not going to pass the bill. But Trump already said, I'm going to pay them because I see it with my eyes and what the polls are saying. This is impacting me, and I'm going to take care of me. But this could have been done a long time ago.
Should have been even.
But because other people wanted to save, they wanted the election, he is the puppet.
Well, we know he's the puppet because Project 2025. That's why the Harris Foundation and all those people went with him, because he was going to do what they wanted him to do.
Right.
I mean, he committed to the plan of Project 2025, Project 2026, Project 2027, Project 2028, the game plan. He committed to it, and he's carrying out that plan. But what I want to say to all of that is, one is, we know from the first time when Trump was elected in 2016, we know that it was said that he had no foreign policy experience or understanding of foreign policy. So now what we're looking at now is a person, as you just said, Mr. Tate, you just said this, and you were very profound and right about this, is that he's following the leadership of those people who are telling him this is what we need to do. Why does he want the straight? Why does he want to protect the straight? Because the all people are saying, hey, we need our oil. We need our oil because we can't keep going up on these prices with oil. We need our oil, so we need to make sure those oil tankers get through that strait, because we need that oil. We can't keep telling people gas prices $5 a gallon, because now the auto industry is complaining. They're not really totally ready for the electric cars. They're not totally ready electric from transition from gas cars to electric cars, right? Electric vehicles. So these things, you got the big boys, the big money boys saying, hey, listen, like to your point, back up, because you creating a hardship for us. You got the grocery suppliers, right? You got the garment industry people. You got the farmers. I mean, you got all these people that are saying, hey, you are messing us up, right? We were with you as long as you were doing it the right way, but you've gone too far to the left, because to let us know he's going too far to the left. Let's just be clear. He can't get any support from anybody. And Russia is going against him. China is not studying him. I mean, studying him, meaning they ain't studying us, the United States of America. So, I mean, and I would venture to even say that Israel is not studying us either. They got us into a war that we can't get out of, and Trump is trying to get out, but he can't get out of because he's too far embedded in that war.
Let me step in right there, right quick, Bishop. To your point with Israel, my understanding, there are different theories out there, and I lean towards this one. Israel, they wanted to attack Iran. A lot of stuff going back and forth with them. This isn't anything new. And Trump, this was the first president that they would allow the United States to get involved in it, because the other presidents would not do it. So, okay, Trump, we're going to attack Iran. We need your help. Now, the evangelicals, we go into this biblical thing, and we're talking about pre-1948, the state of Israel versus the nation of Israel. Trump has no idea what that is. And so we have been taught, well, they're teaching that whatever Israel does is okay. That's not so, because they have left God. This state of Israel is not the nation of Israel that Abraham. It's different Israel. But when they tell Trump, if you support Israel, you are supporting the evangelicals, you're supporting white Christian nationalists. These are the guys, are your money people. These are your MAGA people. So to him, okay, I'm going to support Israel because this is what my base wants me to do. He doesn't care. He doesn't know.
Bishop Rollins, I think you really hit the nail on the head there. This is significant religious implications for all of us as believers. Bishop, you were right on several weeks ago when you deemed this a holy war.
War.
Yeah, this is a holy war. And one of the main cruxes between the ironclad relationship between Israel and the United States, this relationship between these two countries has kept up and propped up the fallacy of the white Jesus, because Israel is going to continue to represent the interests of a white nation in a brown area region of the country.
Right.
And their support by us, our tax dollars for my entire life and for all of our lives since 1948, when Israel was created as a result of the end of World War II, and the support that we've given them militarily and administratively have propped up this image. And Israel backs the United States culturally and religiously by maintaining the face of a white nation. So us as believers of color, we're cut multiple ways by this, because it is a huge issue within Christendom that Africa is still relegated to a non-participant, even though the Garden of Eden is directly located on the motherland. And we continue to see that the consistent mainstream hermeneutic and exegesis of scripture always relegates sub-Saharan Africa as a non-factor. That when we look at so much of the representation of the prophets still of the image of Jesus, it remains the mainstream portrayal of a Eurocentric portrait. And we're going to continue to lack authority in our own faith if we prop up this fallacy because our country is at war. Trump is bargaining yet again that even though Americans don't understand what this war is about, this war has been ill-defined. We have zero exit strategy. We have zero goals for what we're trying to accomplish. But we're going to support him because of our conditioning that when the country's at war, the word of the president automatically becomes ironclad, that even as he continues to wage his cultural battle against every news agency calling them fake news, every information about the war from the Pentagon has been inaccurate to the number of deaths of the American armed forces that are fighting, to as much money as they're spending. Again, we're spending $1.5 billion a day. So when you're having trouble meeting the healthcare needs of your elderly parents, when you're having trouble putting gas in your tank, when you're having trouble paying your mortgage or paying your grocery bills, remember your federal government is putting $2 billion a day in the hands of these arms corporations. So go ahead, absolutely.
So you want to say something, Bishop?
No, I get in. You know, I'm the host of the show. I will.
But and good point, D-Ron. But the way he is couching this is homeland safety,
right?
Because I can say Trump understands media. He understands politics. He understands what moves people. And
let me stop you right there. I don't think he understands politics. I think he understands being a celebrity. I think he understands the point of wanting to put his name on this building, that building, this, that, and the other, and taking a peace award from somebody else that he didn't earn.
Okay.
He's more of a celebrity than he is a politician. Because even if he was a politician, he would understand the art of compromise. Because politicians compromise, and we would not be in this shape right now with the gas war. We would not be in this shape. I'm going to let you come in. We would not be in this shape with the gas war. We wouldn't be in this shape with TSA workers not working. We would, if he understood politics and the art of see, now what he's doing, to your point earlier, you said that self-preservation. Now he wants to do it to save himself. It ain't to save his party. It's to save him, because people are pulling away from him. So now he's trying to gird up his base again to save himself. So it ain't about the people. It ain't about when you do away with Michael Cohen. They should have learned what he did, the way he did Michael Cohen, and all the things that he did and said, that he didn't care about nobody. Period.
let me talk about and the reason I said that he understands it, and maybe he has goals.
Okay.
And if you look at his first term, he hired a lot of politicians, and they would not allow him to do what he wanted to do.
Right.
So this second time around, he hired people who would do what he wanted to be done,
Right.
or who would go with the plan that other people were giving him. So when he says that this war with Iran is about homeland security, and then he tries to draw the picture that Iran cannot have nukes, because if they have nukes, then they're going to come to America and all of this stuff. Well, he's talking to the people who are afraid. He's talking to his MAGA base.
Right.
He's talking to that group, and he's telling them, I'm going to protect you. But these are the same people who say you live in Montana,
Right.
and he's telling you that immigrants are going to walk across the border and going to be in your backyard, because he understands that mentality.
That's the fear.
Right.
Yep.
So that's the fear. I mean, now if you tell me that in Phoenix,
Right.
I'm going to have to listen to you.
Right.
But if I'm living in the state of Washington, or I'm in North Dakota, no immigrant is going to walk up there. And this is the group who if this war is for, he needs to keep them, to let them know, hey, I'm your guy. I'm going to protect you. And I'm going to take care of you.
The fear and guilt complex are the opposite sides of the white supremacist coin.
Okay.
This is how white supremacist leaders have been able to dupe and manipulate the white middle class, the white upper middle class, and the white working class and underclass, going all the way back to antebellum. I mean, poor whites in the Civil War began calling that war a rich man's war, but a poor man's fight. If you were a Southern planter and you had $300, you could buy your way out the Civil War, or you could send one of your slaves in to go fight for your place in the war. Let's fast forward 120 years later, in the 1970s, when it's Trump turned to answer the call. Well, he had one of his little doctor friends claim that he got some bone spurs. So all of a sudden, his brittle bones and weak knees keep him from feeling his obligation to the country and fight when it's his time to be called. But yet he's sending, working class soldiers to Iran right now to fight without giving them a reason why. And so when you talk about the fear that many whites on the border, whether they're on the Canadian border or the Mexican border, this fear that immigrants are going to come in and replace you, this fear that different group, African Americans, this has been the great tragedy of our experience in America, was this constant rhetoric from white supremacist leaders, be they national leaders or state leaders here in Georgia, that African Americans, who rarely have been over 15% of the population in the nation or in any particular state, that we're going to take all the jobs of white Americans, that we're going to leave them as a helpless and hapless roadside calamity where people are pointing at them. What a ridiculous assertion. And it has bred the hatred. It has bred the fear.
That's what
it continues to work today. And so many Americans lack the intelligence and spiritual capital to stand up to this man who is blatantly lying in our face, and we are willing to pay more money to deal with his lies other than come together, stand united, and get a government that's going to represent our interests.
Let me say this.
Go ahead,
I want to say this because fear, as you said, fear is what kept the slaves. What was their fear? Their fear was, one, if they ran, they were going to be killed or they were going to be beaten. The other fear was, they didn't know what was out there, what they would be running into. So they were afraid to even step out. The Bible says we walk by faith and not by sight. But our people were fearful that they were going to lose their life. They were fearful they were going to be beaten. Their children were taken away from them. Men became surrogates in terms of making babies and using to make babies. And that's why somebody asked me, said, why are black men the way that they are in terms of from one woman to another woman, and one family to another? Because it was ingrained in them, that they were used as studs to make babies. And so the mentality, but the mentality is still here for many black men, because that's why black men are not really strong at the head of the household. Especially when we look, I know I'm switching to go in another subject, but I'm going this way for a reason. We got too many of our young black men who are not men. They're only men in the name of being a man, but they don't know what it means to be a man, to be the head of the household, to be a provider. They too busy around here trying to have a woman take care of them, riding in their cars while the ladies at work, and they riding around in their car with salad, driving salad around in the ladies' car that's at work. That mentality, I'm talking about that mentality. But it started with fear. But now I'm talking about fear, but we don't have that fear anymore. That fear of God is
Are
not
you sure,
there.
Bishop? We may be still afraid in some way.
Well, I mean, that fear of God is not there.
Got you.
That's
All
what I'm
right.
saying.
Yes,
that
sir.
Fear of God is not there.
Yes, sir.
That fear of God is not there. Because if we trusted in Him and believed in Him and obeyed Him, we wouldn't worry about anything, because we would know that He's in control of everything. Donald Trump, the Prime Minister of Israel and Russia and all these other people, they were just pawns in a scheme that God said that we're going to have anyway. And so, I mean, these things that as we're talking about, because I want to give people some hope here to understand that the Bible tells us these things are going to come to pass. Isn't just what we're going to be in a right relationship with God. And so but because we don't fear Him, fear God, then it's easy for us to fear man, because we don't fear God. Because He tells us in His Word, don't fear the one that can harm the body, but the one that can harm the soul. So I mean, so the reality of it is, we have to get back to the scriptures and Bible base and give our folk some real assurances that things are going to be all right, because people are running scared and fearful, to your point, and fearful because they don't have that trust and that belief in God. You know, they have it in man, but not in God. So I'm going to let you go, Bishop Tate, and you can take it from there.
Okay, thank you, Bishop. Donald Trump, his base, talk about his base for a second, and you talked about the billionaires. I get that, because he's a business guy, taxes, he cut taxes, and if you got a little money, it's probably good idea. But the people who do not, then they have that other issue when you talked about the fear and the racism and the hatred. And he has allowed them to come from under that rock, because there are segments out there when you talk about voting blocks. And there's an undercurrent that no other president wanted. But he openly will open his tent up for that group. Why? Because they are a vote. Not necessarily mean that they're someone who he cares about, but they are necessary for him to do what he needs to do. And by them not understanding that you are not going to benefit by him being in office.
Mm-hmm. Well, to your point, the people that he told me he was going the tips. We ain't gonna tax tips. I mean, to that point. I hear that point. I understand that point, because if you go back, let's just go back in history. When you talk about that, the white poor people were the one that he used to enslave black people, but they were no more than slaves themselves. They were indentured slaves. There were two classes of slaves. There was a slave that was bond, and there was the indentured slave. And the poor white people were the indentured slave and living in shanties and shacks and living off the land that black people that they were enforcing to raise these crops or whatever. They were living off of that. So it's all to say nothing new up under the sun. Ain't nothing new up under the sun. So what he had done is, you're right, he had raised up that old base. They had raised up that old base who were hidden all of them. They realized that they were in the same suit that we were in today. That's why he said to them, they taking y'all jobs.
Oh, yeah.
They never had the jobs in the first place.
That's right.
let me just share this story. This is a story. Now I'm gonna get back to you. When I went to college, went out to junior college, I was 24 years old. I was 24 years old when I went to DeKalb College. And I was under the guidance that white people were smarter than us. Because that's what they say.
Right.
And I bought into that narrative. When I sit in that class with 18-year-old Caucasians that were dumb as sauerkraut, and here I am at 24 years old going back to college, and I'm saying to myself, they have bamboozled us to make us believe that they were smarter than us. They know that they're not smarter than us. They know that we're creative. That's why I tell you they stole our history, but we gave them our heritage. And we still today continue to get on our heritage. I'm not giving Donald Trump any more credence about anything that he is doing or planning on doing because he Satan spawned himself and God is still yet in control.
Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I'm gonna come in real quick. I'm gonna jump in and jump out. That's the essential essence of compromise, Bishop. When you do not believe you have the power or the worth to control your own destiny, that's when you will accept a compromise. In 1965, with the Voters' Right Act, as we have fought for our rights to vote for 100 years, the Voters' Right Act put us in a situation where every 25 years we had to re-up that contract. Instead of getting a constitutional amendment or rewriting a draft of the Constitution itself that gives us a stated claim to citizenship and voting, because we were of lower social status and our middle and upper classes were trying their best to get themselves integrated at the expense of the black working class and the black underclass. They felt as if their money will overcome their race, and as long as they can begin voting and have some type of political access, then that will be enough for right now. Well, look at where that has got us 65 years later, because the Voting Right Act has been eviscerated under the Obama administration. We've yet to have any state or national movement to really rectify and reunify our claim to the vote. The 14th Amendment is our claim to citizenship, and the current administration has already stated several times that they have a goal to repeal the 14th Amendment, which will put us in an identity crisis in terms of our citizenship. So we at some point have going to have to abandon our compromise position with being second-class Americans. We still get paid less than most white Americans. Black men are getting paid 87% of what white men get paid. Black women are getting paid 69% of what white men are making. And so this constant acceptance of a second-class citizenry because we are not being lynched anymore, or we're not getting our churches burned anymore. Yes, there is a level of gratitude and thankfulness for that, but we are going to accept now paying still larger mortgages. We're still paying larger to live in segregated areas of town. Our schools on average are still getting less funding than majority white schools. And so again, if your premise is compromise and accepting a basement bargain deal to avert some worse calamity, then you're setting yourself up for abuse to be your base condition. And that is something that Americans, and black Americans in particular, are too conditioned to accept. And the war just brings that out, as we're willing to spend billions of dollars to bomb and rape and mean and kill. I mean, we're spending billions to bomb Iran 8,000 miles away, and we spending billions with ICE domestically to lock up so-called illegal immigrants, but we can't do anything for reparations. We can't do anything for free college. We can't do anything for roads and bridges and health care. So this is something that we're going to have to say no mas, no more, that we are full human beings and we deserve our humanity right now.
Well, you got a lot to unpack there, buddy. That was pretty good. The essence to that is voting, because we can sit here and strategize and identify the problems, but until there's an urge to go out and vote, And now we're talking about the SAVE Act, and they're trying to change. But whatever the rules are,
Right.
you make the rules, we go vote. See, our ancestors, they changed their rules all the time on
Right.
it. But instead of arguing about it, they just got into churches, they strategized, they got buses, they walked around, they did what they had to do to go vote. Now, one of the issues we have, and I'm not going to say it's an issue, but when you have money, you have access, you do little different things. A lot of the pastors, as I said earlier, they have an agenda. So they're pushing the Trump agenda to their congregants. Now, you can even say as a pastor, vote for Trump. That was never the case. I worked for a federal agency. I'm going to tell you who it is. Mr. Fan knows. That was never, I'm retired now. That was never, you couldn't do that.
Right.
So when you hear this every Sunday, and I imagine he getting put up on the screen, and he's telling you, fear, 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 vote for me. They have even equated Trump to King David.
That's right.
That he's sent by God.
That's right.
So if I believe in the Bible, King David was flawed, the judges were flawed, Trump flawed, but he's doing the will of God. So you're telling me to look past what he does and look past who he is and look at what he's doing. Because who I trust? I trust my pastor.
Right.
And my pastor's telling me this. So that's one group. And then you have the other group who, because going to the black church, I kind of outgrown that. So I'm going to go down to this mega white church soon.
Right.
And I'm going to hear this same thing.
Right.
You're good, but the one who's down the street, I'm not talking about you when we talk about blacks doing this. No, not you. No. You're one of our members, not you. I'm talking about the ones down the street. But I don't have sense enough to know, you're talking about me too.
That's right.
But I'm not giving up my space because I have achieved. I have arrived.
Right.
And so now the Voters Act, all of these programs, the things that got us to where we are, they're not relevant anymore. Because I don't need them. In my mind, I don't need them.
But to your point, that's why I keep saying is they stole our history. We gave up our heritage. We gave it up because, see, when you start looking at what's going on and you're talking about voting, we don't vote because we've been told that voting don't matter. How many times you went to people, you asked about voting, and said, "Oh, my vote don't count." I mean, really, think about how many times that you've done that. That you've asked people, "Are you ready to vote?" No, why? Or have you ready to vote? I've been in jail. I can't vote. Not realizing that they can vote after they've done their time and everything is over. They can't. In Georgia, and some states you can't. In Georgia you can't. Hopefully it'll stay that way. But the way things are going, Georgia may change that too. But when we get back, and I like what you said, Ronnie, because one is that the preacher, the black preacher was the voice of the community. Right. And we had the beloved community. When we talked about, when Dr. King talked about the beloved community, you know why he called it the beloved community? Because that's what we were. We understood that we're to love one another and to look out for one another. That everyone was our brother. Said, who is your neighbor? Who is your neighbor? The one that does the will of my Father. That's who your neighbor is. Right. We understood that. We grew up in that era that we were all one. There wasn't no big eyes and little U's. Even those people who were school teachers and educators and preachers and everybody was the same. There wasn't nobody looking down on nobody. Everybody was trying to lift everybody up. Those who wanted to be lifted up, right? So I'm just, but I keep saying this, and I say it over and over again. They stole our history. We gave them our heritage. To your point, as you're saying, in terms of voting, and a lot of these preachers are running over there thinking that they're being accepted by them. They're not accepting you. They're using you. You ought ought to see Tim Scott. You ought to see some of the others that have been used by them, and what they promised them they were going to give them, they didn't give it. And then that little that they did give, then they turned around and took that away. Right. So I'm sharing this because I want our people to understand that this is more than about Israel and America fighting Iran. It's about us and what we're going to do and how we're going to stand up and how we're going to be that beloved community again and go back to our heritage and leave that alone and understand, yes, they stole, because how many people found out later on when we were going to school, we had doctors and inventors and all this stuff, the stuff that black people invented, like the phone system really was invented by somebody that was black, the ironing board, the mailboxes. And why did they invent these things? Because we are the most creative people there are.
That's right.
We creative. You know, we were young, we didn't worry about throwing away no skate. We took old board and nails and made us a scooter.
That's right.
we were and my parents didn't buy us no scooters. We made our own. I mean, we didn't even have basketball rack. We take the spokes out of the rim.
And the crate. Had a little crate out there.
Crate.
Yeah.
Basketball. That's why some of those guys were such good basketball players. I mean, I'm talking about for real. You know, even though if you want to pick me as my ball, I'm taking my ball and going home.
Right. But see, Bishop, this unity that you're talking about, this ingenuity that you're talking about, see, this is back in a time when black people was illegal. It was illegal to be black in that time. Jim Crow racial apartheid, Jane Crow racial apartheid had us outside of the mainstream. So it didn't matter if you was a rich black person. White people were still holding up that standard that they will not affiliate with you. Right. They will not marry you. They will not allow you in their colleges. They won't allow you in their boardrooms. But right at the point in which blackness began to be a little bit mainstream, because it's not totally mainstream. That's totally completely understand the current president mocked the first black president and the first lady with that monkey syndrome post that continued Reconstruction era denigration of our heritage and our phenotype, comparing us to apes, always making us look like a lower form of primate that is still alive today. But through desegregation, with the Civil Rights Act, that was largely middle class and upper middle class access. A lot of the leaders of the Civil Rights Movement were celebrities, people like Lena Horne, people like Harry Belafonte. They were able to cross over into mainstream white society, and the integration became a way for them to psychologically sell their lifestyle to us as a political solution. But when Dr. King, the architect of the beloved community, in 1967 saw the consequences of integrating his people into Woolworth, integrating into the public school system, Dr. King came out and said, oh my God, I've integrated my people into a burning house, that we have given up our economic security to an American mainstream that continues to relegate us to second-class citizenry. Why didn't whites and Asians and Hispanics begin to patronize our black businesses, our hotels, our laundromats, our grocery stores at the point of desegregation? Yeah, all black middle class and upper class folks began shopping in white stores. So why didn't the multicultural brigade reciprocate that to the African American community? Because America, by and large, maintained that status caste system that black is at the bottom. So while we go out and vote for everybody else, while we go out and spend our money with everybody else and live in everybody else's community, we have yet to see that reciprocated. What did we vote in the last election? Democratic. 85% of the black Americans voted Democratic. But do our agenda items make up 85% of the Democratic platform? Where is mass incarceration reform? Where are reparations? Where are minimum wages? Yeah, uplifts. We need to increase the amount of minority-owned businesses that get state contracts in Georgia and in every state throughout the nation. Where are these agenda items? Wage equality, where are they being talked about in Democratic candidates. So when we talk about people who throw their vote away, when we talk about black people who don't see the point of voting, it's not that they don't see the point of voting. We don't have an agenda for them. We just go and tell them to go vote like it's some magic, joyous field trip that you're going on, while people of other political parties and other racial groups have a down ballot agenda. They're voting for their candidates to get the Muslim ban, which Trump got, to get the 2017 tax cuts, which Trump got, which and the elimination of DEI, which Trump got. So they have been stacking electoral victories for centuries now. And if we get one little sorry piece of legislation, we pat ourselves on the back for 70 years and then just tell our people to give a blank vote. No, stop blank voting. We need to establish an agenda, hold our politicians to that agenda, and stack victories every election like we see other communities do.
Ron, now I'm gonna have to make a comment about that. I really do, because I think one of the things is that you said it and Bishop Tate said it. The billionaires fund these campaigns. They fund these campaigns, even for black folks. Because when was the last time black people gave any money to any black candidate of substance to help them to win a seat, to be in a position of influence? We claim we got the largest black caucus in the country. We can't get one bill out of the state legislature. Not one. When we talk about art of compromise, we ought to be able to compromise something. You want our vote, then this is what you need to do. You need to do this for us. See, I'm clear on that, and I say this all the time. Wherever I go, and people say, "Well, so and so is running." I said, "Did you give him any money? Did you give him any money?" "No, I didn't get no money." Well, yard sign cost, radio time cost, TV time cost, advertisement cost. The brother Sean, who's running up there in Florida, up there in Rome, and up there in
Marjorie Taylor Greene, OC, yeah.
Sean, how many people gave him some money to run? I mean, he got some money, but I guarantee you, he didn't get very little from us if he got in at all. So we say, well, we put him there. We put him there. Our vote put him there. But our pocketbook didn't do nothing. And the people who put the money in their pocket, that's what they're going to listen to.
Now, so when we talk about, you talked about agenda platform and the Democratic platform. I don't know everything in the platform, so I don't know everything in the platform.
Why you don't know what's in the platform?
I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you why you don't know.
Okay.
But they ain't got none.
There you go. That's an easy answer right now.
Okay, if you guys said that, but we'll just go for that for now. But they do have a platform. Now,
they do?
They have a platform. And
But what you said they got a platform. What do you know that's in their platform?
I don't know what's
Well,
in
that ain't right.
But I don't know what's in the Republican platform either.
Well, you
No,
know what's in the
hold on. So when we talk about voting, sometimes it comes down to the lesser of two evils. It could be that we're holding our party so high. So we say, if I don't have reparation, and even with reparations, I have a question to, if you get reparations, how are you going to implement it? That's a whole nother, I don't want to go down that road right now. But my question, but my point is, if the platform is not there, what I need, so I don't vote. Did I win? If I don't vote, and Republicans can vote, as you talked about, the DEI, the SAVE, all of these things. When you put your congressperson, your senator, and they are the ones that make these decisions, I probably can't call Pastor Warnock, Senator Warnock, or what's the other guy?
Ossoff.
I probably could call him, may not be able to call him. I don't know. But if he doesn't answer my call, does that mean that he doesn't care about my issue? I had a situation with CrowdStrike 2 years ago when the Delta Airlines, when things went out, and I called Delta and said, hey, I got caught up in that. It's y'all fault. I want my money back. Delta said, nope, we ain't doing it. Somebody said, send an email to Buttigieg. I just sent it out the blue. Hey, I'm in Atlanta, I gave my information. About 3 weeks later, Delta replied and said, apparently his office had contacted them, and he didn't know I voted Democratic or not. I don't think he went and looked that up. But because who he was, I got my money back. Whether or not I voted or not. But my point is, I voted. Now, we want our politicians to open up the book, show them everything, and if you can't do that, I'm not going to vote.
Right. Now, let's be very clear. We do want to vote. I vote. I vote in every election. What I also want to pair with my vote is an agenda, though. I am part of the generation that was sold this idea. You go to college and then the American dream will be your bountiful reward. Well, I was given, before I had a summer job paid for by my government allowed me to take out over $80,000 in loans as an 18-year-old. Now, how many 18-year-olds are making $80,000 a year? But you can borrow that much to go to a university for 4 years that are not going to give you any direct on-job training or make sure you get a job when you graduate. So, we don't know how to implement anything before we start using it. We're in a war right now we don't know how to win it. We don't know how to get out of it, but we got into it. And so if we can do those things, then we can find a way to come up with an agenda for our votes. We can find out a way to come and talk to each other and see what we want to get from our elected officials. I mean, good God, we have homecoming parades every year where 10,000 black people get on the street in their school colors and yell with pom-poms. We can organize that. We can organize some seminars and bring us.
I'm not sure that's not happening. I'm not
Well,
sure.
if that is happening, I'm sure we would know what our agenda is.
Yeah.
But because we don't know so much, the activity behind our vote is lacking. Yes, we got plenty of folks from P. Diddy to everybody else telling to go out and rock the vote. Everybody remember when he was out there saying that. And that's great. And we should do that. But what are we rocking the vote to do? Is it to guarantee home ownership for our community? Is it to guarantee that we have police reform as police districts throughout the nation continue to get military hand-me-downs of weapons and drones and becoming more and more a police state as the military continues to demand $200 billion here for a war here? They already got a $900 billion budget in the last budget that Trump passed.
Now, I like this. I like where we're going with this. And it's like organically it's happening. I grew up, Bishop Fan knows, and I'm not trying to say, well, I pulled myself up out of bootstraps and all that. I'm not going down that road. But I did grow up in housing projects.
Right.
I went to a school, it was in PWI. I didn't go to the HBCU because when I would walk the street, they wouldn't let me go across campus.
Right.
I worked at a job. I kept my nose clean. I've been pulled over twice for police. I'm not saying that things don't go left. So I'm not making myself be, well, if you do like me, you'll get like me. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But sometimes we have to take our own responsibility as well.
You don't think black people have taken responsibility for our existence in America?
But some of us don't. When we look at our situation where we are.
Okay.
I took out a student loan.
Right.
Paid it off.
Right.
I mean, I when I was at home, I worked at the bank, and God blessed me to get a good job, and I was on it for 40 plus years.
Right.
And never had any issues. And I'm not saying church is the answer, because it's not the answer for everybody. But I was in church my whole life.
Right.
So I had structure.
Right.
I didn't grow up with structure. It happened.
Right.
Now, we don't know when we talk about the sower.
Right.
He said he just went to sleep one night, woke up, things grew up.
Right.
So it's not always things that I did,
Okay.
that I've done.
Right.
But for whatever reason, God has blessed me.
Right.
And I try to be an example.
Right.
And try to help that group coming behind it.
Right.
And my message to them is that go out and vote. Sure, go to the meetings. Right now, we have a mutual friend. She's running for state representative in Henry County.
Right.
I'm going Tuesday night to her meeting. I'm giving money to her campaign. I don't know where the platform is.
Right.
But if she wins, she's gonna represent me.
Right.
I'm gonna vote for her.
As a minister and an educator, I like to focus on social systems more than qualified and overachieving individuals. Sister Harriet Tubman made over 200 trips throughout the American South and introduced 5,000 black souls to freedom. Does that mean that every slave had the opportunity to run away and become free if they wanted it bad enough? They were in a system that had them captive. And our community through the abolition movement was trying to build systems in which we could follow certain amounts of steps to be able to develop our uplift. And so because I celebrate every black person who turned lemon into lemonade, and we should celebrate them, but we need to stop making that the system that we believe in that's going to be the way in which our people are uplifted. Because I'm an Exodus preacher. God sent his son Jesus for our individual salvation. Yes, he did. But God also gave us a standard for the liberation of a group of people, and that's through the Exodus, that we see that his people left Egypt. Right. And they not only left Egypt, he blessed them to leave with reparations. They were able to plunder their exploiters and leave that land with the riches that they developed with. Because again, when you trust God, he opens doors that you think are impossible. Okay. So I want us to concentrate. Yes, we're going to celebrate every black person that does well. When are we not? But that doesn't make it an excuse for our country that taxes us, overtaxes us, overcharges us for breaking down every systematic option that makes it a feasible program for black people like you and me to start in housing projects and end up in the upper middle class or even in the top 1%. That is the purpose of a government, to systematically produce organizations and institutions that can allow us as citizens to better and grow.
But we can't get people, and we done left Trump now. We done
I think they're still fundamentally related to Trump.
Okay. So, but in order to get these systems in place, we need to vote and get people.
Agreed. Totally agreed.
So if we had, I think the Congress is probably 218, 216 or something like that. So if there were 2 or 3 more seats in Congress, he wouldn't have had a free pass.
That's right.
Because the Democrats would have had
it. Wait. Not necessarily so. Oh, you got Democrats that cross over to the other side.
We do.
So let's just.
But I don't think the vote. It wasn't a big vote.
Right.
Yeah.
I understand, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
This conversation go on and on. Now, see, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I'm for my issues. That's who I vote. Just straight up. I say that everywhere I go. If you for my issue, you for working family, you for taking care of people, healthcare, you for education, you for those things that I believe in, and you really have a proven track record for having done that. See, our problem, we vote for black folks who ain't done nothing. It was what their mama did, or their daddy did, or their auntie did, or somebody else did. But what they've done is grown off of the legacy of their parents. This is scripture for me. This scripture for me. When Solomon's son Rehoboam took over, and the people asked Solomon, son Rehoboam, will you be hard on us like your daddy? He said, well, let me check it out. So he went to talk to the same thing you said. He went to talk to his buddies. He went to talk to his buddies who didn't know nothing, but was going to tell them what he wanted to hear. Right? And sometimes we have to get in the face of people who we elect and tell them what we want them to know, not what they want to hear. They told him what he wanted to hear, and he came back and told the people, I'm gonna be worse than my daddy and divide the whole kingdom.
Right.
So I'm saying to us, brothers, what I'm saying to us tonight, as we end this conversation, we have to come up with what the agenda is. We have to say for our own community what we want in our leaders and who the kind of leaders who have proven that they're leaders, and not people who are just jumping out because they're black, you know, or they're Democrat,
Right.
or they're Republican, or they're independent. Parties don't mean nothing to me. It's the person. It's the person and what the core belief of that person truly is. If they don't believe it, I can't support it. If they haven't proven by fighting for it, I can't support. Having been a former elected official, I'm telling you, I went in saved, I came out saved, I stood up for working families and working people and the community. And because I stood up, they tricked and conned and everything else and told all these things against me to get me out. But they turned me loose so I could be who I am, because I went in doing it, I was in there doing it, and I'm out here still doing it because I believe in it. And I'm telling you, that's what we have to elect people who are not afraid and not willing to compromise. In Revelation, it talks about it was going to come a system of political compromise and false worship compromise. And that's what we do. We compromise in our worship, we compromise in our politics, we compromise, and that's why we're doing where we are, because the old church, the old black church, it wasn't no compromise. They did not compromise. It was what it was, and it is what it is. Mm-hmm. Whether you want to deal with it or not, you're going to deal with it, because this is what it is. These are the rules and the standards that's set, and you must abide by these rules and standards if you're going to stay in this house. So we have to continue to pressure those individuals who we elect, and even those who we didn't even vote for. We still got to get in their ears. See, we too afraid to get in their ears.
That's right.
We're too afraid to say what need to be said when it need to be said. That's why when they see Greg Penn, they say, don't start no trouble there. Because they know I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. I'm going to say it. And people who know me know that. I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say it in a respectful way.
That's right.
But I'm going to say it. Because what needs to be said needs to be said. And I am a prophet, not a priest. I'm not eating from the king's table. The Lord provides all my needs according to his riches and glory. This has been another Straight Talk with Greg Penn, the preacher man, and our producer tonight. We had our producer, Ron Tate, with us tonight, along with Ron Allen. And next week, hope that Shannon will be back and on the program. And we're just going to have this, and maybe we get the producer to come back again and help get us some more guests.
Can I give a special invite, Bishop? I invite everyone next Saturday, April 4th, come to the Rice Building, 504 Fair Street. We are hosting the Exodus Missio Day, the mission of God for our community. We're going to be talking about the agenda that we want to have as a Democratic Party. And we're also, or any party that you vote for as a Black American. And we're also going to introduce educators like myself and the programs we have that we want in Black faith spaces, in Black community spaces, that we can begin implementing right now. Next Saturday, noon until 3, 504 Fair Street. Come out. We can't wait to have you there. Look for the Exodus Missio Day at this program and at other areas online.
All right. Hey, this ain't been nothing but what?
Straight.
Want to be a guest on Straight Talk? Email Greg Penn at FAN922@Comcast.net or call 404-308-0795. Join us again for another episode of Straight Talk with Shannon Jones and Greg Penn, the Preacher Man.